This is Jazzology. It's a real science, honestly. Not just a podcast of me talking about me. Or maybe it is. It's Jazzology. And there she is!
Hey!
Okay, so this is the time when I have to adjust my face so that it's in the middle.
Okay, I'm just gonna, don't mind my hand, I'm just adjusting the volume. There we go.
How are you?
Hey!
Hello.
I'm great. How are you?
Lovely to see you. I'm very well, thank you. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to plug my phone in just in case it dies at death.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm wondering about that too. Hopefully it's fine. I charged it up, but we'll see.
There's always like a ton of things which you just never really kind of cross your mind, and then suddenly something, you know, terrible happens in the middle of the stream and you think, scrabbling around to try and fix it. Anyway, just because this is going to be retrospectively, potentially people are going to watch this retrospectively, I'll just give you a little intro as to who you are and how I know you. But basically, this is Hannah Rebekah. Hannah and I met at she dances very well, at a conference in London. Now, I was thinking to myself, which one did we meet at? Because I've been to two.
We met last year at Introducing. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I met a few. I actually had another guy who I invited to come on this Instagram Live, who I also met last year on the open podium stage thing that they were hosting. You know,
yeah. I saw that. I saw your live with him.
I don't know if you met Jerome. At that. No, shame. I mean, it'd be great if we could all meet each other, but there's never enough time there. Anyway, so we met at a conference in London called BBC Introducing Live, which is it's the conference that's associated with BBC Introducing here in the UK, which is a big BBC-led initiative to bring underground music to the fore, I guess. And nice. We just sort of like kept in touch ever since. And you sent me a postcard.
I did. That's right. That's right.
So you were touring somewhere? Was it in Scandinavia?
I don't know where I was when I sent you that. Yeah, I think it was in Norway. Yeah, last year.
Yeah, and you did a shout out to whoever replies to this. I'll send them a postcard, and I replied.
Yeah. I tried to include a pun.
Yes, thank you very much. So that's my little intro. So other than that, I don't know a huge amount about you, to be honest. Because
I know.
All I know is you're a fantastic singer-songwriter. You travel a lot, and
thank you.
As far as I know, you're based out of Seattle, but I've never really known you to be in Seattle. So I guess that's this year more than anything. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah. I'm not really based anywhere. I'm just here because of COVID. So I've been out here since March. And this is where my partner's family is from.
Right.
His dad is on this call watching.
Is that Rick?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you for tuning in. So his family lives out here. They live it's actually Vashon Island, which is like just a ferry ride out from Seattle. So we spent the first 6 months of the pandemic there with them. And then we're house sitting right now for 6 months in West Seattle. So
nice.
This is not my house.
So you don't have to say anything. We'll just assume. This is also not my house. So.
Oh yeah, I was wondering where you were and like how long you were in your van for, and like when you transitioned into four walls. Well, I guess you have four walls in your van. But
it's very odd for me because I've been living the van life for 2 years pretty consistently. I mean, I have little spells where I'll go and stay with friends or I'll stay with family, but I've been in the van fairly consistently. And then COVID came along, and I managed to do the first lockdown in the van because I was out in France playing gigs in the Alps. And then I was in the van over summer, and then it just sort of like wasn't going away, as we all know.
Yeah. And
it just became less and less feasible to be in a van. This van life treads this kind of like strange, is it okay, isn't it okay boundary the whole time with with the sort of general life, and it's kind of easy when you're in the shadows a little bit, but when you're sort of like, when it's COVID and everyone's hyper vigilant and looking around all the time and worried, then suddenly living in a van becomes a bit more complex. So I've had to step away, and I'm back with the parents.
Oh yeah.
For the current time. But normally I'd be going out to the Alps to play music in the French Alps, basically now. So that's sort of on hold at the moment because France is, you know, basically going to lockdown again, I think, soon. We're very much sort of locked down here in the UK, so it's just I think it's going to be a winter of, you know, huddling up and sort of producing music from my bedroom, possibly. I don't know. It's a complex
I think
thing.
that's what we're all doing this winter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So before we get to go down the sort of COVID rabbit hole, I'd love to talk to you about how you got into music.
Sure.
Like, I mean, I'll just let you take that and interpret it as you will. But I'd love to know sort of the background as to how you got into singer-songwriting.
Sure. I guess it's been a very slow burn. Like, my family wasn't musical or anything. I mean, I don't have any like cool stories about like, oh, my family got me into music and I listened to this cool stuff. I like did not do any of that. I guess I got into music from school band, so I was a drummer for a long time until like my mid-20s. And so I always played drums. So I was in bands and stuff, but always playing drums. And I kind of started, I would always write lyrics and stuff ever since I was young. And then when I was, I don't know, around 20 or so, I started kind of playing with guitar a little bit, but like very much hiding it to myself, don't show anybody, that kind of thing. And then when I was 26, that's when I started to have like all in my head.
Yeah.
But when I was 26, that's like when I started to play shows. And I was super, super, super nervous to play in front of people. Yeah. And it took years to feel comfortable playing in front of people. So it's been a very gradual thing. Yeah. But I think I've always wanted to be a songwriter. You know, I just didn't have the confidence to do it because it's so different, you know, being out in front by yourself with your guitar instead of like behind a drum set in the back. No one cares. You can just like, you know, so that's kind of my story. Yeah. And then, so I started playing shows and I just really loved it. And so I just kept doing it. And so now it's been quite a while. And yeah, I just travel around playing music now. I don't really have a home base. I don't have a home. I lived in a van for a while. I've gone through several iterations of this nomadic musical lifestyle. Yeah. So that's kind of my summarized story.
Well, it's interesting. There's a couple of things that's interesting. I think you're the 6th or 7th person I've done these lives with. Maybe 6th or 7th. And at least 3 of the people I've talked to, unbeknownst to me, all started out as drummers, including you.
How funny is that? That's so strange.
Yeah, I don't know whether there's something in that because it's not a logical thing. You would say, you'd think, well, if you start off in drumming, but it's basically become like the front woman or man and stand up there with a guitar on your own. Seems a strange leap, but actually that's clearly been a thing. But yeah,
and there's all those jokes about drummers who write songs, you know, like
maybe,
you know, no one wants to hear a drummer writing songs, but yeah, that's so funny.
Well, I mean, now I know 3 drummers who are great singer-songwriters, so I can never say that again.
What was your story? How did you get into music?
I mean, it's a similar story, you know. I mean, I'm 35 now, and I've only been doing this full time for like 2.5, 3 years. Yeah, and I basically started. I was doing a different job in my 20s, and I started to around my mid-20s. I started to. I've always been musical, you know. I even, you know, I did music for school, although I did end up doing quite badly in what we call A-level music here, where I got an E, which is basically the worst grade. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So somebody tried their best to put me off music in the early days. Anyway, so I was always musical, always played the guitar, and I got to my sort of mid-20s and started to write songs and playing live. And similar to you, I started with the open mics and did a few shows, and super terrifying, like just the most terrifying thing I've ever done. But I really enjoyed that process of, going through the insecurity and sort of trying to learn more about myself. And at some point I just said to myself, well, it'd be really nice to try and do this and see if this is more than I think it is. And so I dedicated some time and quit my job and said, right, I'm going to basically give this 5 years. And if this doesn't work out in 5 years, then fine, but I'm going to give it the best go I can. And that's sort of the road.
You gave yourself a deadline?
Well, not a deadline, but I sort of said, feasibly, if by the time I'm 40, essentially, that's essentially what I've given myself time-wise. Okay. If I haven't figured out a way to make this work legitimately, and I'm pretty much there, but it's just like there's levels of legitimacy, then I will probably sort of like try and do something a bit more commingled with something else, if you know what I mean. But I'm basically giving myself full time until I'm 40 to sort of try and figure this music stuff out.
Okay, all right. What does legitimacy mean?
But I'll always be a musician, of course. I think it's like kind of financial legitimacy, I guess. So having enough coming in that I'm not sort of like breadlining myself. And also at some point, I can't really hide away from the fact that at some point I might have other people who might, be reliant upon my ability to do money as well. So at the moment it's not the case, but I'd love for one day for there to be little Jeremys running around. And I think if I'm still sort of living in a van and going day to day, sort of earning enough to pay for bread, that's probably not a sensible thing to do past 40. But I mean, I'll always be a songwriter, and I'll always continue it. That's the journey I'm on at the moment, I think.
Cool.
Well, that sounds very romantic, doesn't it?
It sounds what?
Unromantic.
Does it? I'm gonna live in a van. I'm gonna do this till I'm 40 at least, and then I'm gonna throw myself fully into it, and hopefully I have a family someday that I can take care of. I think that sounds romantic.
That's super romantic. Yeah.
What? What'd you say?
No, you're right. You're right. That's the romantic bit. Yeah. So that's the romantic bit, but then I suppose when it hits, yeah. Yeah, cool. So, let's bring it a little bit more up to date. So you've been writing songs for 9 or 10 years, did you say?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what's that process been like? Has it just been a sort of a gradual thing, or have you focused on production and getting albums out and singles and EPs and stuff, or have you just kind of let it evolve, or how's that process been for you?
Yeah, so when I started, my goal was can I play in front of people without being terrified? And then from there it went to can I just play as many shows as possible? So I wanted to be able to just anywhere that I went, be able to play a show and stuff like that. So that was always what I really loved to do, and what came easily, I guess. It was finding shows, playing shows. But I never paid any attention to I feel like this is a classic musician thing, or an artist thing, is don't pay any attention to how you're going to build a following or how you're going to continue, you know what I mean? I just didn't think of any of it. So I was just traveling around playing shows without without anything. I just would be hi, I'm Hannah Rebekah, this stranger that you don't know. Here's my set. Bye. You'll never see me again. And I don't have any information about you. So so it took me a while to be to realize, that's not a very practical way to go about it. And so the past, 3 years or so, I've been trying to focus on how do I make this sustainable income wise, and or just even building and maintaining a fan base, or or whatever. What are all the practical steps that go into being an actual singer-songwriter for your job, for your career? And so that's what I've been focused on the last 3 years, which I really appreciated about you when I met you at introducing, because you had a very similar mindset. And I remember you said something like, yeah, you know, if you just have you were talking about like, I think other people, and I think because we were both a little older than like, you know, 22-year-old pop singers at introducing,
Yeah.
it was like, you were kind of like, yeah, you just need to have kind of this grown-up attitude about it and go ahead and make it work. That's not exactly what you said, but the idea was in my mind.
Sure, yeah. Well,
And I think that's true. I mean, I think being a musician is like, or a singer-songwriter or whatever you're doing, I think it's fully possible, even more so now than it used to be. And I think my whole life I've been kind of realizing that, I guess, because I don't know what your upbringing was like, but for mine, like being an artist or musician was just crazy talk, you know, like that was not something anybody does. And so
yeah.
realizing that it's possible has been like a really good thing. So that's what I've been focused on. And I really resisted recording music for a long time. I hated the pressure, you know, the cost and the pressure, and like having, you know, I had these perfectionist tendencies at the time, and like, yeah, I just really resisted it. And then I recorded in Brighton. A friend of mine now, his name's Ali, and he did all my recordings starting a couple years ago. We were house sitting out there, and now I fucking love it, you know, like it's so much fun. So it was like, it's always been like this next hurdle, you know, or like this next obstacle to kind of get past mentally to be able to do it. And so now I've done a few songs. I did it like 2 summers. Like every time we go back there, I record a bunch of songs. And so I was meant to do that again this year, but that obviously didn't happen. So maybe this year we'll be back in Brighton. I don't know. It looks pretty bad over there.
No, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty.
I mean, it's bad here too, but.
Yeah. Have you got a British link? Is that, do you have like because you, obviously I met you in London and you're talking about recording in Brighton. Is there a link for you in Britain? Do you have family here, or is it just a place?
No, so my partner and I, we house sit around full time until COVID. So that's what we do. So for several years now, in the summers, we go to England for 5 months. So we stay in Uckfield, which is near Lewis, in between Brighton and a lot of people don't know where Uckfield is.
Yeah, well, I've never heard of Uckfield, but I know Lewis and Brighton.
Okay, well, yeah, of course, yeah. So we've been there for 5 months each summer, like May to October, and so that's been basically like our home base until this year. So that's where I've like got friends and stuff and come back to each summer. So that's kind of the link. Yeah. I don't know where.
Okay,
I feel like I just tangented away a little bit, but what was your question?
So you know what? That's a really good moment, actually. Speaking of your love of recording music, for those of you who are watching, I ask anyone who comes and does these lives with me to bring an acoustic guitar, or I mean, some people have. I mean, everyone's come with a guitar actually, but I'd love somebody to come along with like I don't know, something else, a didgeridoo, or. But anyway,
I was thinking didgeridoo when you went like this.
Yeah. Didgeridoo? This is a big sandwich. So I asked Hannah to bring a song with her, and I'd love to talk a little bit about the song that you might want to play for us.
Okay. Okay, I prepared some songs, or whatever, a couple songs, 1 or 2. Anyway, this song is called "This World Is So Alive," and it was originally called "They Tried to Tell Me," because that repeats throughout the whole song. And this song is basically about like my upbringing was basically, I grew up in the Midwest in Wisconsin, and so like very conservative Christian Protestant, that whole thing. And my upbringing was very much like, and my education was a lot like, there used to be a lot of trouble in the world. We solved all the problems, and now everything's fine. You know, was basically like my understanding of the world. until I left and realized that that was not the case.
Yeah.
Anyway, so like the last, my adult life has basically been a lot of peeling back layers and unlearning a lot of things. And
Sure.
so this song is basically about that. So,
Okay.
okay.
Amazing.
All right.
Well,
All right.
I look forward to
Hearing what I've been unlearning.
unlearning.
Alrighty, here we go. Okay. I'm gonna drink some water. It's like 10:30 here. Okay.
Yeah. It's actually dark. It's dark here in the UK.
Oh, I like your little lights behind there. Add some
Well, I've even got a little
ambiance.
Christmas tree. I wasn't sure whether it was okay,
Very
but
nice.
we're still 12 days of Christmas, right? I think that goes up till. I actually learned
I think
this yesterday.
January
12 days
6th.
starts on the 25th, so it goes up to January something or other. So I'm
6th?
going to leave it here. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, maybe? I don't know. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Can you hear this? Okay. Oh, hold on. Yeah, okay. They tried to tell me that the world was dead. They tried to tell me that it's all in my head. They tried to tell me that they've got it figured out. And if I ask any more questions, I'd be going straight to hell. They tried to tell me God was a man. They tried to tell me if I do the best I can, the systems will allow us to be up there at the top. Tried to tell us both, tried to tell us all to stop. Let me be the one to break it to you. This world is so alive, this world is so alive. Let me be the one to break it to you. This world is so alive, this world is so alive. They tried to tell me this is how it has to be. They tried to tell me we don't need community. Tried to tell me it's better than history. They tried to sell me heroes who had no humanity. They tried to tell me this is the best I'll ever see. Held a blessed mediocre as extraordinary. They tried to tell me that the world is dead. Tried to tell me that it's all in my head. They tried to tell me that the world was dead. They tried to tell me, oh, this life was a given, this world was a given, no need for further action, that's what they said. Your life is a given, your world is a given, no need for further action, that's what they said. They tried to tell me we're individuals. They tried to tell me that what I have is self-earned. Tried to tell me to keep my thoughts to myself. They tried to tell me to never ever reach out. They tried to tell me that life should be hard, and if you couldn't hack it, you deserved what you got. They tried to tell me that the world was dead. They tried to tell me that it's all in my head. They tried to tell me that the world was dead. They tried to tell me, oh, did they tell you those same things too? Let me be the one to break it to you. This world is so alive, this world is so alive. Let me be the one to break it to you. This world is so alive, this world is so alive. They tried to tell me to just ignore what I see. They tried to tell me to forget my own mortality. They tried to tell me that I will always be small. They tried to tell me I've got no power at all. They tried to tell me I am only physical. They tried to tell me about the evil in this world. They tried to tell me about the powers that be. They tried to tell me only to believe what I can see. Same things too. All right. That's it. Alrighty.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, getting the
So
cobwebs out. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
So I was definitely getting. Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit of an issue with the connection, Matt. It's okay. We'll power on through. Do you? It's interesting. Do you feel with your songwriting? A lot of people that I've talked to actually have come at songwriting from different perspectives, but it seems to me that you're someone who's fairly comfortable with the sort of more protest, more political elements of songwriting. Would you say? Is that something that kind of comes to you naturally with your music?
Yeah, I've never been a big like love song person. I think when I was younger, I was like, I'm not gonna write love songs, you know? Like I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not like the other girls, that annoying person. But I think it's just I don't know, I just like yeah, it comes I think that's like what I like to write about because that's what I care about. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's similar. Well, I mean, I write. It's interesting because I have a similar thing. I have this great desire not to be the same as other people, but in reality, I'm fairly middle ground with my songwriting. I've realised like I tend to I guess I tend to do what a lot of songwriters do, which is to kind of rationalise your thought process in a song. So almost like kind of take the jumble of thoughts in your head and put it on paper and go, oh, okay, that's actually what I feel about this. And I think I mean I definitely heard that in that last song for you. It was almost like an emancipation from what you'd grown up thinking and learning, and just sort of when you come into the world and you see all these interesting ideas and these interesting places, and suddenly you have a mind for yourself and you can express that. And I felt that sort of.
Yeah. I think you've said it better than I could.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So how is your songwriting process normally, would you say? I mean, is it something that you've ever really considered, or is it just sit down with the guitar and see what happens, or is there a process for you?
Yeah, I think it's changes all the time, like when I started, I would write lyrics, I would just write lyrics. And then I would just, the guitar, I don't care about the guitar. You know what I mean? It's like, it's there to aid the songwriting.
Sure.
And so I used to do it where I would just have the lyrics and then, whatever fit, that's what I would put on the guitar.
Yeah.
But now as I've done more now I'm starting to have it where like the melody comes first, the guitar comes first, and I put the lyrics with it later. So that's what I'm going through now. But yeah, what about you?
Traditionally speaking, I've always started from a musical perspective, interestingly enough. So it sounds to me
Okay.
you come at it from a slightly different angle, which is you're effectively a poet who puts words to music.
Yeah, but I'm not a poet. But but yeah, lyrics are more important to me. Yeah.
Yeah, or it's a storyteller, maybe a storyteller poet. You're exactly, it's interesting because in my music, I would say the most important part of the song is always the lyrics for me, because that's where the story is told, and I love to tell stories. But I think when I'm songwriting, I always start musically, or I have done historically. I've started with the guitar, and I've written something on the guitar, and it sounds nice, and then usually what I do is I start to hum or sing a melody, and then the natural nuance of the melody sort of tends towards certain words, and then those words inspire concepts, and those concepts then kind of come full circle and inspire them.
That's neat.
Yeah, but in recent years I've realized there's got a flaw to that. Basically, there's a sort of disjointed nature of that sort of thing. So I've started to consider other ways.
Very cyclical.
So I think if you're trying to write a song that makes sense and has a good cohesion of all its bits, I think you probably have to start with the concept first, rather than starting with the musicality, if you know what I mean. So I'm interested. I've not done it a lot, but I'm interested to start from a lyrical perspective and a concept perspective with future songwriting, and then write the music that underlays that, rather than going the way around I always go round. But yeah, I don't know. I suppose, if it works, why change it in a way? But I'm always intrigued as to what kind of songs I come up with if I just started the other way around, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I feel now is like um yeah, changing it around. And what I want to do, which is similar, I think, to what you're saying, is because lately, or the last, I don't know, in recent years, as you put it, um, it's like a melody will come, and then I'll put words to the melody, but then you're still almost starting from like a lyrical perspective, but the music has more play in it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Whereas like when I first started, it was like lyrics and whatever fits is fine. And then
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
and so to kind of do both and then do the underlying music,
yeah,
yeah, that's similar to what
for
I'm
sure.
doing now.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sort of sounds a little bit more like my historical process, as it were.
Oh,
A bit, although when I first started songwriting, I was very insecure about lyrics. I don't know
oh
whether you
yeah.
relate to that. Yeah, like I worried a lot about how something sounded because I knew it was going into the public domain, and it's all related to your own
Mm,
personal insecurity, I suppose. But you sort of worry that even though basically it's only a handful of your friends who are going to listen to the song in the beginning, in a way that's more terrifying
yeah,
because if you write a song
absolutely.
that is finally honest, and you don't have to put up all these walls and sort of like versions of yourself in front of people, and you finally say something which comes from the heart. There's a terrifying moment there that somebody's going to turn around and go, "Oh, that's what you're like," and you're like oh.
Yeah,
So in the beginning, that
yeah,
was
yeah.
that was a struggle. But I think as I've got older and I've started to care less about that sort of stuff, it's become
That's
much easier to.
interesting.
And I think that's actually become my lyrical process has become more fluid because of that. I don't let my insecurity hold back good lyrics anymore like I used to. So
Nice.
I don't know whether there's something in there that you can relate to, or have you
I
always
feel
been like
like
sure of yourself?
no, no. I'm still not sure of myself. Something I'm working on. But
It's
no,
a long
like
journey.
it sure is. No, when I was younger, I think I did not care. I was not worried about lyrics. Like that's the part that I felt good about. I feel like I've become more insecure with lyrics as I've gotten older, which is strange. I think
Yeah.
I'm starting to come around again, but and the reason is when I was younger, I would, put the lyrics out, blah, blah, blah. And they were different than what other, women songwriters my age were doing. And so I felt really confident about that. I was like, oh, okay, great. I'm unique, or whatever. But then then as I got into my 30s, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like you get in your 30s and it's like, yeah, you should have lived some life by now. Like your
Sure.
realizations are no longer profound.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I mean? So
yeah.
I feel like the bar is higher. So I feel a little more I guess insecure is the wrong word, but more like the bar is higher and I'm trying to figure out how to meet that more. And there's two songs on my Spotify where if I could go back, I would change a couple of the lyrics. And just because like as I learn, then I don't know, what am I trying to say? Yeah, the more that I learn in my life, the more like I would, okay, maybe I should have changed that word or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I
I second guess it a little more, I think.
Sure.
I'm more
I mean that
careful.
the interesting thing is that I think it's a really lucid thing, isn't it? The really lucid point you're coming to, which is that I think that the interesting thing about what you're saying, and I have a similar thing as I grow older, which is that I think there is a tendency for me, because I write a lot about philosophy in my songs anyway, a lot about trying to figure out why we're here and, what life's about,
Yeah.
trying to like,
Love it.
yeah,
Love it.
trying to like, I don't know, put puzzle pieces in to show people a bigger, and myself and other people, the bigger picture. But the danger there is that you become so philosophical that you detach yourself from like just normal people, right? And so your songs become this kind of like distant, almost like wishy-washy, too profound thing. And actually,
Like it almost becomes generic. Is that like
yeah,
what you
well,
mean?
yeah,
Or
almost like you realize, because there is a tendency with philosophy to sort of like just to start going, well, nothing matters, and then the problem with that is that actually people don't want that in music. People want to hear their struggle, and they want to hear
yeah.
you say like, oh, you know, fuck this and fuck that, and if you get too philosophical, you're just like, hey, just chill, man. You know, it's cool. And nobody wants to hear that in music. I don't know. But so what I'm trying to say is, I think there's probably a pleasant naivety to sort of allowing yourself to write kind of young lyrics sometimes, to just, I don't know, reconnect with that element of yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I can relate to what you're saying. And like, I think I've gone through a wave with lyric writing where I used to be really specific in my songs, you know, and it would,
Yeah.
or whatever. And then I became, some of them became like more general, I guess. And then I'm realizing like, the sayings like the more specific you are, the more you actually relate, or people actually relate to your music in your lyrics. So now I'm trying to do more of that.
Is that what people say?
Yeah. 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 I mean, think about the songs that you like you like the details of the song where you can like feel it. And even if you haven't been in the exact situation as the writer, you can relate to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like storytellers are so good at that. And do you know who Craig Finn is? Just one example.
No, I don't think so.
He's the guy from Hold Steady, but his songs, okay, they're depressing, but but they're very detailed and gritty, and he includes all these things that like you probably personally haven't lived through, you know what I mean? Because it's this one exact experience, but because it's so exact, you're like, ooh, I can relate to that, and you know what I mean? And so the more specific you are, the more people actually can grasp onto it.
That's an interesting one, because I feel like I'm on this path where I've always written quite specifically, you know, quite sort of like, I'm almost like a fine artist musician. And what I've wanted to become is more of an expressionist musician, if you know what I mean, just take an art analogy.
Yeah,
so like
yeah.
just kind of
Yeah,
more blurry.
yeah. Okay,
so
I got you.
give their own interpretation.
Yeah.
So
I was like,
it's
wait a
interesting
second.
you say that, because yeah. So for me, I think I'd love the idea of writing a bit more cloaked, maybe, if that's a fair word to use.
In what way?
With lyrics. Yeah, so kind of like what I've noticed about, like, I delved into the world of video making with some of my songs last year, because I released some songs, and I worked with a videographer, and we basically created this video, or a couple of videos, which were very weird, and I really enjoyed the process of doing it, but it was much more kind of cloaked and nuanced and kind of interpretive than my songwriting. And I found that when I released the videos, people would come up to me excitedly to share their idea of what they thought I was trying to portray in the video.
Yeah, sure.
And what I learned from that, and often they were wrong, but what I learned from it is that there's something nice about providing this sort of like canvas and this sort of like blurry picture, and letting other people paint their own world into it, if you know what I mean. So I completely agree with you. You can't be too, I don't think you can be too random with it, but I think if you sort of allow people to sort of pick up on certain things, but then also create their own world into that music, that's a real place to be, I think. And I think maybe I've always been literal with my music from that perspective.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think like the space is important, and what you're talking about, it being interpretive. Like, I don't mean that when I say like be specific, I don't mean that you have to be like, this is what happened and be straightforward. Yeah. I guess I just mean
the shop, and then
right.
some milk, you know.
right.
No, there's a balance for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'd love to hear one of your philosophical songs.
I'm glad you said that, because if you'd said I'd love to hear a love song, that wasn't the song that I was going to play. Yes, I will. I tell you what, I'm going to play a song. It's a song called Just Be, and it's it is a bit of it's a philosophical one, and it's quite a, I would say a little bit of a, compared to what and how I normally write, it's quite superficial. In the fact that it's sort of like, it is a little bit blatant with the songwriting. It's basically about being in the present moment and not worrying too much about the past or the future. But I wrote it after I watched, I don't know if you've seen the film Inside Llewyn Davis.
No, I don't watch movies very much, and the ones I watch are just trash.
If you are going to watch a movie, I would recommend it. It's basically about a singer-songwriter in the time of Bob Dylan, who plays the New York scene, plays the Gaslight Tavern where Bob Dylan was found. But it's the story of his failure in music, not the story of Bob Dylan's success. So
that sounds awful.
Yeah, it's a really good. It's Coen Brothers film. It's kind of like dark comedy.
Okay.
I really recommend it, especially as a songwriter you like yourself. But anyway, so I watched this movie and I was so. The score is done by Marcus Mumford from Mumford and Sons, and it's a fantastic film with fantastic music. And this sort of song came out of that thing, I guess, that kind of genre. But my guitar's out of tune, so. Anyway, it's called Just Be, and it goes a little bit like this. I came, I saw, I left before I conquered anything, and I've never known what I'm looking for. Maybe the looking, that's the thing. So come find nothing with me. Uphill, down dale, we'll wander free. I'm on a road to a path, to a place to just be. My heart's been searched, so to my head, both joy and pain I've seen. I felt as light as clouds and as heavy as lead, and all these places in between. But now I feel the pull of the weight of the world, expectations like gravity. I'm on a road to a path, to a place to just be. And I know I'm not the only soul for whom contentment's been hard to find. Through pillowed heights and stormy lows, all these clouds, they're silver lined. So come find nothing with me. Uphill, down dale, we'll wander free. I'm on a road to a path, to a place, trusting all in our heart's guiding grace. I'm on a road to a path, to a place to just be.
Yeah, that was awesome. I loved it.
Thank you. Yeah. So
I like that line. The come do nothing. Wait, what is it? Come do nothing with me.
Uphill, down dale, we'll wander free. Yeah, it's interesting. I when I was singing it, I sort of like, I thought actually this is Hannah will like this because it's basically,
I do like
it's
it.
our lives, right? It's sort of like that. I think I wrote it because I went through in my 20s, I did a corporate job, and I got kind of wrapped up in that whole kind of objective-based success thing, where, you know, and Karen's also said, Karen is a fan of mine. She loves that song. So yeah, that was for you, Karen. Nice. She said, yeah, so I got wrapped up in this world of more materialism, money, things, and it just wasn't me. And I think I was just I sort of like felt like society had, or not that society had lied to me, but I wasn't part of that thing. Yeah. And I realized that I don't actually need anything. You know, for me, we're just journey people going from A to B. And when we get to B, that's kind of it. And I don't get any pleasure from accumulation of stuff, but I love going out there and experiencing things. And so that was kind of almost like a protest song against the idea of this kind of, you know, society where we have to have stuff, you know. So yeah. But I'm really glad you liked it, yeah. And long may us both wander free, was all I can say. And actually, I love the idea that you said of house sitting around the world. That's a cool thing to do. So yeah, how did you get into that?
I saw something years ago, and it was always in the back of my head from like a travel blogger that I had followed, and he had written about it, and so it was always kind of in my mind. And then yeah, I don't know, when my fiance and I, when we got together, he was like in the middle of his own trip across the US and kind of didn't really have specific plans, and I was like, I want to go spend some time in Europe. And so we ended up going to Europe together after like 4 months of knowing each other, and we started house sitting. Basically, you just like, there's a couple websites. It's just like couch surfing or something, but you know, for house sitting. Yeah, it's really big in the UK, and we were like, what the hell? We'll give it a shot. You know, we'll make a profile and see what happens. And so we made this profile, and then the next day we had like 4 responses, and we were like, whoa, crazy. So we
come to you to get you to come to their house to sit the house.
Yeah. So, well, what happens is just like, yeah, so people will put up their, you know, they have their profile and they put up like, hey, we're going on vacation. We need somebody to watch our dog. And you apply for that job. What's your favorite place in the UK? Uckfield.
Uxfield.
because Uckfield is my favorite place in the UK because of that's where we spent the most time. And so like I joined a karate club there, you know, my friends are near there. So like I really like that. I know it's just a small town, but there are lots of lovely places in the UK. Yeah, so they put up their thing, you apply, and then they write you back and say, okay, let's have a video chat so that you can both kind of feel each other out. And then if that works out, then you go. And so we were in Washington, D.C. when we sent these messages, and we get this message back from this woman, and she's living in the middle of the Marais in Paris. And she's like, hey, I'm going to be up in Normandy. She's like, I don't have a pet, but my apartment needs a coat of white paint if you want to come here and paint my apartment. And so we were like, okay. And so 2 weeks later, we were in Paris, like just right there, you know, and we didn't know anything about Paris either. Like I like to like learn something about it before I go. But in this case, we just sort of rushed over and we painted this woman's apartment. We both work online, and so we would be painting. We're not professional painters. She knew that. You know, we'd be painting, we'd be working, and then we'd be just walking around and just seeing what was going on, you know, and eating a lot of bread and cheese, and it was great. And we just never stopped. Well, until March.
Yeah. Incredible. So, I mean, I love the idea of being a digital nomad, and I think for me, music works really well. I mean, the last few years I've built up as much as as well as I could, I've tried to build up a touring network, which unfortunately is more complex politically now because of, we're leaving the EU. But for me, there's something that's deep seated in my soul about traveling around. And I mean, I think if I was born, 800 years ago, I would have just been basically one of these people who wanders, and sort of like turns up somewhere and goes, "Hey, do you need some help?" Like. And so it's interesting because I think a lot of there is this undercurrent of people who love that sort of thing, but it's certainly not something that's particularly normalized, I guess, in the modern world in the West, that you just like live online and work online. But it's becoming.
I think it's becoming more normal. Yeah.
Especially with COVID, actually, I think it's really turned people's heads around on what is possible. So it's going to be interesting to see how the next sort of like 10, 20 years evolves, having gone through this process of like, well, actually, the system still runs if we're all online. So
yeah, for sure. I don't see myself settling down anywhere really for a while. I don't really see myself. I just can't even picture it. Although the dream is to like eventually have long-term residency in some country in Europe so that we can move around more freely. Because right now it's like, you can stay 6 months in the UK, you can stay 3 months in Europe, but you got to stay 3 months, then you got to go to the UK, then you got to go back, or, leave Europe altogether. And the dream is like long-term residency. And we found, sorry, I'm like on a tangent, but in the Netherlands, there's like this old treaty, like post-war treaty between America and the Netherlands. And so you can start a business there for very little money, and it can be any business, and then you can have a long-term visa there. So that's a possibility.
Yeah, well, I actually used to live in Holland. So I was there for 4 years. And I remember that being said, that Holland was trying to make it very easy for people to come and set stuff up in Holland, very favorable. So, and I love it. I mean, it's a little bit, the only thing with Holland I've found is it's a little bit kind of like monotone, maybe culturally, but everything works and the people are great. But I'd say, a little monotone, maybe slightly beige. Is that fair to say?
Slightly beige.
Hey, this always happens. Believe it or not, it's 7 minutes to the hour already.
So fast.
Yeah, so time absolutely flies on these things. So I was wondering whether you would be interested in maybe playing one more song for us.
Definitely.
That'd be amazing. Sure. And please let me know, what's the song title and what it's about, and maybe a little bit of background. That'd be great.
So this song is called Solid Sediment. It's not online. I haven't recorded it, but it's a couple years old. This song is about, I wrote it after somebody that I knew of, didn't really like know personally, but knew of in the festival circuit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You get like pop-ups on your phone. I get the odd pop-ups.
Yeah. Well, he's saying like, "Oh, I missed it," but I don't know how to tell him that it's still going on. So.
Yeah. So I've had people try and ring me while they've come online and they've tried to ring my phone whilst watching me online, and I'm like, "Why are you trying to ring my phone?" Anyway.
I can't laugh though because you had to walk me through how to do this. So.
You've done it very well.
Thank you.
Every week from now on.
Yeah, so this, he had died, and then this was a response to that song. So it's basically like contemplation of, mortality and what happens after we die, and people that we lose and our love for them. So.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to take another sip of water really quick. All right. Well, I've nearly been blown off the side of a mountain, a testing of balance and I'd never really heard of such a wisdom weary rock. Oh, 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 oh. Collecting tips and tricks of the trade, become a master before it's too late. Well, I barely got creases underneath my eyes, but I'll probably go soon enough, just as ignorant to life. Oh, 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 oh. Wake up in the morning just to find out another one of us is gone. And each time it gets harder to hold on to the myths you were told when you were young. They go, I am solid, no. You are sediment, no. You'll be washed away. They go, I am solid, no. You are sediment. You'll be washed away. Hey, 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 hey. So I'm calling in the myth that you're swirling around in different form, that you've merely changed consciousness. You are solid, no. You are sediment, no. You'll be washed away. We are solid, no. We are sediment. We'll be washed away. Hey, 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 hey. So if this is my last song, know that I carried you in my heart. And I see both the boy and the man that you are starting to become. You are solid, no. You are sediment, no. You'll be washed away. We are solid, no. We are sediment. We'll be washed away. Hey, 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 hey. So I'm calling in the myth that you're swirling around in different form, that you've merely changed consciousness. Thank you.
Very cool, very cool. I really like that.
Thanks.
That's really nice.
Thank you.
But you said that's not been released.
Yeah, I haven't recorded it, but I think I might, because you know, honestly, I thought it was too generic when I wrote it. but
It's interesting because I think that's, I mean, not that I enjoy the genericism, but I think I don't know, I just really liked it. I think
people respond well to that song.
Yeah.
It surprises me. I don't know if you have the same thing where like you're surprised by what people like. You know, I think when you're
all the time,
right?
Especially
so
songs
like when you,
that I've written, and then somebody goes, "Oh, that's my favorite song," and I'm like, "What? How can you be so
Yeah.
wrong about that?" You know?
yeah, but it's nice though, because it really does, like, I think it's great to have the reflection because I can get caught up in my head. And so to hear like what people really connect with, like that's cool. So I think I'll probably end up recording that one.
Yeah.
But
maybe it's
yeah, it's so
like
so funny. Yeah, 2021.
But speaking of which, what does the next sort of 12 months ish hold for you? Are you like, or are you just sort of sucking steam?
We are here until April, and then the plan up until 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago, and it's still the plan. But the plan is to go back to the UK to Uckfield, but I don't know what the situation will be or like what travel will be like or whatever. But the plan is to leave the US in April, May-ish and go somewhere that is in a COVID safe way, you know, somewhere that's safe and hopefully it's
coming to the UK in spring, summer. I will be in the UK in spring, summer, so we should definitely link up somewhere. That would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
I'm going to try and base myself in the southwest, but I'm actually going to be pretty much all over the place because in May I have a tour around the UK. So. Okay. I was trying to play a gig in Brighton actually, but I just struggled to get any contacts there. So. Anyway.
There's I can send you one.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So I think we've pretty much come to the end of our hour, actually. So, but I'd like to say, and also Susie, one of my fans and friends now, says she really liked it, and you should definitely record your song. So there you go.
Thanks, Susie. Thank you very much.
So, if anybody watching would like to find out more about you, where's the best place to go to? Do you have, obviously you've got the Instagram account, Spotify, great place to go.
Yeah.
Go give Hannah a follow on Spotify. Anything else you'd like to big up while we got the chance?
Let's see. I'm releasing a new single January 22nd, and I'm really proud of the way it came out. So
I'm releasing one January 21st.
Oh, are you really? Oh, release party.
Yeah, exactly. We should do something together. Maybe we should do a little. We should do another one of these in like January the 23rd, and we can talk about our release. Yeah.
That would be really fun, actually. I would love to do that. I think that would be really cool.
Cool. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. I have a feeling I might be on the road, so I might try and get to France on that weekend. But yeah.
How are you going to go to France?
Well, hopefully by van. Take my van down there. And last winter I stayed in my van in the Alps the whole season.
I remember you drinking tea in the van.
It was great actually. It was chilly on occasion, but it was great. But I'm just gonna my loose plan is to go out there late January.
Okay.
But I mean I'll just have to play it by ear because who knows what the COVID restrictions going to be like. So I think they're going back into lockdown actually next week, France. So. Maybe it'll be end of February by the time we get out there, but we'll see. But anyway,
I hope you get out there.
Yeah, me too. And I hope you get back to the UK soon as well. That'd be great.
Yeah. This has just been, yeah, yeah, I hope so too.
Anyway, thank you so much, Hannah. It's been an absolute pleasure
talking
to you today, and let's do it again sometime. And
That'd be great.
have a wonderful day. It's the evening here, so I'm gonna go and find some food, I think. But
sounds
good. Catch you next time.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy.
All right, cheers.
This is super fun. Bye.
This is Jazzology. It's surreal science, honestly. Not just a podcast of me talking about me. Or maybe it is. It's Jazzology.
What actually happens so often is that it's like staying on the runway, thinking you landed, but